There's a lot of stuff going on in TTRPGs this 2023. Excluding all of the WotC drama and other stuff, like whatever the heck's going over there. Anyhow, there's a lot to unpack, and I have a lot to talk about in today's video of my favorite TTRPG things of 2023. So, without further ado, I'll be talking about my favorite creators, artists, articles, and other tidbits that I think deserve loads of attention. So without further ado, let's first dive in to our favorite TTRPG creators and artists. The first creator I really want to highlight is GM Witch. Her content gives off this cozy feel. For instance, her video on random adventure ideas, aka the story engine deck and deck of worlds, is a really cool concept. And if I had the money, hell yeah, I'd buy that, especially since I love creating randomized worlds for my players to explore. Or her cover of Root RPG, which has been in my periphery and I really want to play. So all of her content gives off this really cozy feel as I'm talking to a friend and we're sitting around some hot chocolate or coffee. It's really wholesome, and I highly recommend you check out GM Witch's content. Seriously. Atelier Clandestine. You might have heard me talk about this author before, but they are the creator of Sandbox Generator, a tool that I used before over here. This book is amazing. It's what helped me finally get out of my cubbyhole of not world building or not writing or creating hex crawls into creating hex crawls. It gave me the tools to create simple hex crawls with no worries. Yeah, I didn't know how to draw, and quite frankly, I'm still not really that good at drawing hex crawls, but it gave me the content needed to not only run D&D like games, but most fantasy medieval era games that I love. So, especially to you, Atelier Clandestine, thank you. Next, let's go to someone a little bit more technical, Encountersmith. Encountersmith's content is largely focused on virtual tabletops such as Roll20, and Encountersmith has helped me greatly improve my Roll20 games, especially as someone who majorly runs on, well, obviously Roll20. And the personal video I think you should check out is their Dungeon Scrawl video. Seriously, if you use Roll20 and you write and play a lot of D&D games, Dungeon Scrawl is a useful tool that you should have in your, well, toolbox. Next is the Dungeon Noob's Guide. Their content focuses on D&D, but also several other RPGs, but the cool thing is their clear attention to VTTs, and specifically their two videos, one being on Character Sheet Online, and two being on alchemy. I have been trying to learn more and more about VTTs. I think they all offer different things for different players, and the Dungeon Noob's Guide does a great job on doing that. Plus, their icon of the Parasocial flag is pretty freaking awesome, personally speaking. Finally is AA Void, aka Aaron. Aaron Void's channel has been on my periphery for a couple months now, with their first video coming out of nowhere on my feed being Mausritter. And in part, they were one of the few that inspired me to play Mausritter. It seemed like such a damn cool premise. But afterwards, I watched more and more of their content, and there was one thing I realized that I was missing from my experiences as a TTRPG creator, consumer, and just generally fan: the religious experience. In many of Aaron's videos, I realized that that can be an important part to some players and game masters, and especially in their videos such as Patchwork World, Ross Rifles, and especially Hell Whalers by Brewis Tabletop Games and Bogus Cheesecake. It's not often in my feed that I see a creator able to intersect their religious experiences with the TTRPG hobby. So for me, it stands out greatly, and I can tell they are extremely passionate about this work. Plus, some of their videos have given me extreme chills, especially Hell Whalers. Next, let's discuss video essays, blog posts, and articles that were TTRPG news or topic related that I think everyone should check out. Starting off first is the Parasocial Relationships and You that was featured at PAX Unplugged. I think about my role in the TTRPG space and my relationship to my audience. And as my audience and channel grows, I need to recognize that parasocial relationships are developing. And my intersections as a Black queer creator are going to mash, meld, and grow with that, alongside the other creators that I collaborate with. The biggest thing I took away is, well, set your boundaries, and don't assume, as an internet person, you are instantly buddy-buddy with an online creator. Plus, the panel also covers each of the individual's experiences of parasocial relationships and navigating all the messiness that comes alongside that. I think if you are interested in learning more about how creators respond to the bizarre nature that is parasocial relationships, then I highly recommend you check out this video essay/panel. In 5th edition, I always wish there was a primer, sample, adventure, or story in the PHB. There are snippets of the specific classes in the PHB, but there was never anything that slowly fed or introduced the rules to me. Well, color me surprised when I found this video by Beckme Berserker discussing the tale of Aleena and Bargle. I never knew of this story. I never knew of this small little, I was supposed to call it one-shot in the Beckme game. But this small introduction into the red box set of old school Dungeons & Dragons reminded me that there are valuable lessons to be learned from old school gaming, and while I have not yet played Beckme nor grew up in 1983's Basic Rules box set, it's clear this small story made a great impact on several nerds. Simply put, a small box set that introduced the mechanics as well as characters that folks could relate to is simple but an effective strategy. And I think this video is a reminder that good instructions and a clear adventure can make for a damn great time. Improvement RPG made a video on the concept of making a deal, and this idea at first I struggled with. Making deals at a table is hard, especially when the mechanics don't lean into it and you're not used to that. Plus, I'm not the best at improv, especially of voices and all that stuff. But from a player perspective, this is always awesome, especially in heroic fantasies or those really dark moments when your characters are backed up against the wall. If you as the GM and the player are unsure how to proceed, the best bet is to sacrifice something, and that's what improv and RPG suggest. It could be a treasured item, it could be a friend, it could be something important to your character. Unrelated, as someone who is relatively new to old school games, the hardest part is never the actual material of the game. The hard part are the tools needed to complicate scenarios, excite players, track items, and allow for awesome dungeon crawling and or narrative play. Fortunately, this document, the Serpent Song Hymnal, my collection of tables and such, is the perfect tool for any OSR gamer or newbie. There are plenty of tables that prove helpful in this. From reaction tables, downtime activities, restocking a dungeon, tables for death and dismemberment, and tables for names, personalities, and negotiations. Simply put, this tool is super powerful for any OSR game you're looking for if you need a one-stop track for all materials for any game you're running. Now let's talk about the games I played which I would recommend overall. Those games were Fabula Ultima, Basic Role-Playing Engine, Dungeon Crawl Classics, and Mausritter. With Fabula Ultima, I love anime. I've made a couple of videos about it. And I knew I wanted to try this game. And its dice size system of using several D6s, D8s, D10s, and D12s to roll is a cool premise. But the even more cooler premise is its robust questions for world building and character group dynamics. The game master and players build the world together by answering a select number of questions using the world sheet and map sheet. These questions could be like choosing a shape for the world. It could be thinking about what is the role of magic technology in the world. It could be asking what are some of the major historical events. These are questions I never even considered when running any Dungeons & Dragons game. So to see this was such an awesome idea, and I will certainly be taking this if I'm ever running a full campaign. As for basic role-playing, I love this game and its many derivatives, especially Call of Cthulhu. Its simple D100 roll under system can be more or less crunchy, And you, as the GM and players, can input so many different mechanics, such as sanity, fatigue, and character points to name a few. You can even include powers and magic if you're running, say, a fantasy game or a superhero game. While I would not say it's the best game for especially new players, if you are looking for a comprehensive system-neutral RPG with loads of character options using a D100 system, then definitely check it out. But what if you don't like D100 systems or, well, anime? I know, crazy. Well, I did mention Dungeon Crawl Classics earlier. DCC is a D20 system, and I've made several videos as shown over here. All I gotta say is, I like DCC because of its tables, and several of them, and its sort of laissez-faire style of GMing. It's both super edgy, but also doesn't take itself too serious when necessary. This laissez-faire approach allowed me to relax when GMing, and to just have the players engage with the story as they see fit. Plus, DCC has several modules, and all I gotta say is, that saves me plenty of prep. And finally, Mausritter. Whereas DCC is super wordy and edgy, Mausritter is simplistic. This game's layout is simple, clear, and effective, and I go into more detail over here on that, but it gives you everything you need to run the game. Travel, combat, filling a dungeon, factions, all in 1 to few pages. Plus, its physical card-based system is such an interactive way of working with inventory when you are not used to that. Seriously, how many 5e players do physical card-based inventory? It's such a cool concept, and I think a lot more games, especially ones that are ran physically, need to implement, or should try with their groups. Overall, Mausritter is a pleasant time running because of its ease to pick up within one day and just play. And there are a lot of games I haven't been able to play, but I still want to check out for the year 2024. These won't be detailed explanations similar to the ones before. The first game is Steelheart. This is a mecha anime tabletop role-playing game, and its art is absolutely beautiful. This game captures, just from an outside perspective, the concept of high-energy modern mecha anime. Death in Space by Free League Publishing. The concept of being lost in space as you're fighting for your life is a cool concept. Whereas Traveler's hopeful and more science fiction, Death in Space paints this grim, sad world as you live out your life as a Ouija just trying to survive the vacuum of space. Songbird's 3rd edition. This game is beautiful, like the others, but its casual nature is what captured the most. Plus, it even gives a big middle finger to Gary Gygax, and it puts a damn trans flag in the beginning of the book. That's pretty freaking metal. Alien RPG. It's aliens. I really don't know what else to tell you. It's Aliens RPG. Is Yaziba's Bed and Breakfast. I less want to play this game and more so just want to read through it because it's really cute and quirky, and it's made by the same people who made Wanderhome, which is another game I also want to try. Cyborg. I love that edgy, gritty edge to this game. It's made obviously by the same creators of Morkborg, so you're going to get that same kind of style of over-the-top edginess, and I just love it. Plus, the website is absolutely awesome. Paranoia Perfect Edition. I've always wanted to try Paranoia. Ever since coming across RPG Blender's short a while back and some of their other videos, it's always been on my brain. So, when I knew there was a Perfect Edition coming out, I will give it a try in 2024. Final game is Break. This anime RPG sort of popped out into the scene, I believe in mid-2023. The art looks really cute, there's plenty of character customization available, and you can play a lot of different anime fantasy role-playing games. Plus, just generally speaking, the game looks pretty. And finally, here are some things that are just here that I couldn't fit anywhere else. First thing being Games for Gaza. This was an amazing bundle related to the ongoing genocide happening in Gaza and the occupied Palestine. It was really awesome since funds were raised for the medical aid for Palestinians, which went to an amazing cause and organization. And you got a collection of both digital and several physical games, some including games like Godkiller by Connie Chang from Transplanters, to Those Little Bastards by Minar Linhan. This collection of games is amazing, and while the bundle is no longer functioning, I still recommend if you have the money to donate to the medical aid for Palestinians and to check out all of the games listed here. I also went to MomoCon, which was my second convention in my entire life. I'm not much of a convention go-getter, but I want to start going to more. And MomoCon in May of 2023 was pretty darn fun. I got new dice, I got to buy Mutant Carl Classics, which I'm hoping to play and run eventually. So I learned a lot about playing and running games there, and I hope to one day make a full video, especially after MomoCon 2024, and all the other conventions I go to. And the final thing was the Dungeon 23 challenge. All I gotta say is, this challenge was eye-opening. Making a dungeon room every single day sounds like a great idea, and I was doing that, until I just forgot to do it, and got tired and bored. Yeah, it didn't really work out, but it still was a valuable lesson, and if you are interested in Dungeon 23 challenge, you can check it out here. And likely there will be a Dungeon 24 challenge next year, but I'm not too sure. And that's my personal favorite things of 2023's TTRPG thing. There might have been creators I didn't mention, and if you're watching this, that didn't mean anything personally to you. But if there were RPG enthusiasts, creators, content, or your personal favorite things that I didn't talk about, let me know down below in the comment section and suggest to me what I should cover in the year 2024. Finally, this year has been great growth for my channel and for my content, so I'm going to just plug a couple of things if you want to support me. If you want to do it monetarily, I have my Ko-fi down below in the description box as well as my Patreon. You can subscribe to either of those, whatever amount of money you see fit. I also run professional games on Start Playing as well. If you're interested in playing a game with me, check it down below. And finally, if you want to support my channel or see me repost and talk about TTRPGs and other stuff, check out my Twitter over in the description box as well. As always, I'm your average, everyday queer host, Lord Disposition. Hope y'all have an awesome New Year. Ciao.